Aggression by terror against the peaceful villagers of South Vietnam.
August 4th, 1964.
Has now been joined by open aggression on the high seas.
President Lyndon Johnson
against the United States of America
made it official. America was even more committed to stopping the advancement of the North Vietnamese regime. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, signed by Congress within the week, would grant the president unlimited authority to increase military forces in Southeast Asia.
You know, you want to go back home real quick, or you want to charge, and we couldn't do either.
So that, over the next 11 years, and under the watch of 3 presidents, more than 2.7 million Americans would serve in uniform in Vietnam, with more than 58,000 never coming home.
I didn't talk to anybody about Vietnam at all for years.
And those that did come home weren't exactly welcomed.
I just don't think the average person today understands what we went through.
Today, America can regain the sense of pride that existed before Vietnam. But it cannot be achieved by refighting a war that is finished as far as America is concerned.
50 years ago, the conflict may have been called off.
There's only about 900,000 of us left alive. Agent Orange has killed the rest of us.
But the suffering was far from over.
It's like I'm there. It's like it just happened.
The fall of Saigon marked the end of the Vietnam War on April 30th, 1975, 7 days after President Ford's speech at Tulane University, which you just heard a little bit of. When the dust finally settled, the names of more than 200 Idahoans were scattered among the other 58,000 killed in action on the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. These days, more than 44,000 Vietnam veterans call Idaho home. So today, here on the 208, in honor of Veterans Day tomorrow, we're going to be focusing on that conflict. As a warning, some of the stuff they spoke with us about is pretty intense. But here, in their own words, 4 Idahoans share their experience of serving overseas and since.
The first thing the military taught me was to become a man. Number one, to be accountable and responsible and accept authority.
We all went over there thinking that we're doing the right thing.
The movies are not what it was like. It wasn't it at all.
It seems like a blink of an eye. You know, I look at, my daughter was 3 months old when I left for Vietnam. You know, she turns 57 this year. My God, I'm that old. My name is Terry Hayden. I was in the U.S. Air Force. I was in Vietnam from February 23, 1969 to 23 February 1970. And then, of course, I flew in and out for this 1971, 72, 73, 74. I was 20 years old.
Why did you join the Air Force?
So to beat the draft.
I had committed some felonies. I'm not proud of them. I guess the felony that was on me was grand larceny back then. And then when I went before the judge said you have 2 choices. First choice, you go to Leavenworth prison, or you join the military, whatever branch of military you want. And that's how I joined.
Well, my dad and I weren't getting along real well, and I walked by a recruiter and went, I'm going in.
What made you say, all right, I'm going to go Marines? I mean, your dad's in the Army. Why didn't you go there?
Marines got a better looking uniform. Dress blues, you can't beat them.
What was your first impression of Vietnam when you got there?
Hot and muggy.
The smell, it was terrible. When they opened the door to the airplane, you could just, it was all different. Whether it was the rotting vegetation or was the burning of the human waste, maybe it was a combination of all. But yeah, that was, you don't forget that. My name is Bob Ashbrook. I was in Vietnam from April Fool's Day of '69 to Christmas Day of 1970.
We thought we were going to be doing storming the beaches like in Normandy. It was basically chaos, organized chaos. And they drew a map on where we landed at Da Nang, how to get to where we're supposed to go on a napkin. No lights, can't use your lights, no moon. The name, Rich Porter. You know, I was in Vietnam from summer of '65 to summer of '66.
Scared as hell. My name is Vincent Muller. Served in the U.S. Navy from 1968 to 1972, and I served in Vietnam of 1970 and 1971. And I remember coming down, getting off the plane, and I saw this deuce and a half, 2.5 ton truck, and it was pulling pallets. But the pallets had body bags on it. And it was a bunch of guys that were killed in action, that they were transporting them across the airstrip over to wherever they were taking them to storage before they sent them home. And that was my first introduction to landing into Vietnam. It was scared the living daylights out of me. I had no idea what was going to happen after that.
What was your role?
I actually wound up working in a place called maintenance control. We had 200 aircraft, and about 100 of those we controlled. We had 2 squadrons of RF-4Cs that were flying. We had 32 sorties over North Vietnam every day. So I made sure that they were ready to go.
Whether it was Army, Navy, Marines, or Air Force, they called us advisors because we were in a conflict. We were supposedly not in a war. My role was security to help the Marines and the ARVNs, which was the South Vietnamese, the security of the Coconut Prison.
And then I got voluntold to be an FO operator, forward observer, 481s.
What does that mean?
We go out forward of where we're going, we see a target, and then we call in. I called in everything from 81s to gunships. Truthfully, I did not think I would make it back from Vietnam. I'm just not a lucky guy.
What's that like going into it thinking, I'm not going to make it out of this?
Well, you're going to do the best you can and take as many as you can with you. There was, just like in the movies, there was time when we were in some jungle part and you could hear them walking around doing Yankee Go Home, banging their sticks. And that was because they were right there. And they were too close to call in the artillery. But if you wake up in the morning, you do it again. You know, hopefully we wake up.
I always was given the orders to go out and pick up dog tags and stuff like that for somebody that we lost. I would have to go out and kind of do a recon with a couple other guys, and we'd have to pull the dog tags, which was hard to do, and the bodies and all that type of stuff. And just the smell of the bodies and the burnt flesh and stuff like that, and from all the gunpowder and stuff like that. It just was pretty awful.
Were there some good times?
Yeah, yes. Oh, there was some fun times. And there was this supply building that had beer and the whiskey, and well, it got hit. And guys were running out of the ditches, grabbing the cans out of the air while they were spewing beer, and trying to drink it. Yeah, that was funny. I mean, stupid too. But
did you allow yourself to make friends?
I did. Can I go through those books and remember their names? I never got myself where I'd get that close enough with them because if we lost somebody, if they were a KIA or a POW or something like that, I didn't want to have that bond with them.
And they told us when we got there, don't get close to anybody. Well, I did. I got close to a really good guy. And here's the hard part. He got killed.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there with him. We got hit that night, and this is when I was in supply. And Captain and I were in my supply room, and I heard the gunshot. And I told him, you go this way, I'm going that way. And so we went and met where he was at, laying on the floor. Yep, he had a second chest wound, and I was trying to, stop the bleeding and the air going in and stuff. And all the time he kept saying, Bobby, don't let me die. Finally, the medics came. And when they got there, he was turned pale, and he started hollering for his mom. And I found out later that night that he passed. I was angry. People standing around and not doing anything. So I ran out after I took him. I was yelling, swearing, crying, and praying. So I didn't want to get close to anybody like that again.
What was his name?
Tommy Price. April 12th of 1970.
You're sad. It's, you know, you're gonna get to me, aren't you? You know, if you lose a loved one, it hurts. But you've got to do your job. Tomorrow's another day. There's another hour. You've got to protect what's there. We all protect each other, and you just keep on going. You know, it bothered me a lot when I got back for several years. Usually when I start drinking, it's rough. But maybe I'm a little weird. I try to take that stuff that makes me sad and mad, put it in a box, and either put it down in the basement somewhere or put it up in the attic where you're not going to see it. And all you can do is suck it up.
For me to be sitting in maintenance control and to get a call from the flight line and say, hey, I need a fire truck out here. There's no fire. We need a fire truck. Oh, we need to wash the airplane out. You know, and I had to ask questions, why? They just brought a bunch of body bags back. And the body bags develop holes in them, and plus they're muddy to start with. And so you get a bloody, muddy aircraft, the cargo bay of that aircraft. You know, those are the kind of things that stay with you. You walk back onto your airplane, there's 27 caskets on it, and see what it does to you. Fortunately, I never had the 81 flight, and there's 81 caskets on there. 27 was bad enough. I went over and started to read the names, and I couldn't do it. And that haunts me to this day, and I'll take that to my grave with me. I'm sorry. They were on their last ride. And for what?
What do you remember about coming home?
It was ugly. Spit on, called baby killer, and all that.
Oh yeah, I got things, got things thrown at me on, all going on and off the base, and called names and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. You're baby killer. You're shunned a little.
But there were no parades or anything for you guys.
No. Just suck it up, Buttercup. Keep going.
Everybody was telling me, some of the guys that I knew said, don't wear your uniform or anything like that. I said, well, why the hell not? I'm proud of wearing my uniform. We didn't realize about what was going on about the protesting at the colleges and all that type of stuff, and the burning of our flags. They were treated so horribly.
Let's put it this way, it was 2010 before anybody said thank you for my service, that thanked me for my service.
Really?
I got out I got out January 8th, 1975. It makes me bitter, it makes me sad. I served my country well, what I did.
And I remember another sergeant and we got off the plane and we were getting spit on and hollered at and everything. And we went into the restroom, changed into some civilian clothes. But heck, here we are carrying duffel bags anyway. So it didn't really matter.
We were at a bus station and I was waiting on this bus, and there was a family of three. There was a woman and a man. They were probably in their 30s, early 30s, and they had a little baby with them. And the woman yelled over to me. She saw I was in the military, and she said, "Did you just get back from Vietnam?" And I go, "I did." And I had a smile on my face. Well, the next thing, she started looking at me and yelling and screaming at me and spitting at me and calling me a baby killer. and all kinds of crap like that. I didn't know what to say to her. I was just totally blown away that a civilian would treat me like that. She didn't know anything about me. She didn't know who I was, my name, where I lived, what I did. It was a real eye-opener. It was very difficult to deal with.
Did you carry that with you?
I still carry it with me, forever.
Why?
I can't let it go. Don't know how. That's why I go to PTSD group every week on Tuesday, and I go to one-on-one counseling once a month.
Why do you think they keep us in counseling? They worry about us killing ourselves. You know, I live with it by myself, basically.
I didn't talk to anybody about anything. I didn't know how. I didn't want to. It's just hard. My family never talked to me about it.
They never asked? If you had to tell somebody about Vietnam, what would you say?
What would I say? There was a conflict in Southeast Asia that we became involved in mainly for political reasons and also economic reasons. I think a lot of the war machine, the war machine makes a lot of money for a lot of people.
I think Vietnam is just another part of our history that I'm part of, and I'm proud to be part of, regardless of all the negativity that took place when we were there and when we came home.
Why didn't we finish the mission? And why did we just come home? We're not really accomplishing anything. But I'd still do it again. Even though nothing really was accomplished.
Would you do it again?
Yes. Knowing what I know now, I would not want to, but if the country called and we had to go do it, it's... I don't want to sound like superhero or anything like that. It's just that's our job.
Would you have done anything differently?
Given the retrospect in the climate in this country right now, yeah. I'd have gone to Canada.
If I had to do it all over again, even with the same reasons, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Because if I don't, who else is going to do it? Somebody else, you got to step up. Absolutely, without question.
Heck yeah. I'd go now if they'd let me. I love my country. People don't understand that unless you've been in the military. You get a sense of pride. Red, white, and blue. Yeah. Yeah, I'd go today.
We didn't get a chance to get into the impacts and effects of their exposure to Agent Orange, of which there are plenty. But to borrow a quote I heard from the Veterans Day Parade on Saturday, they didn't choose the mission. They chose to serve. And almost to a man, as you just heard, they would choose to do it again. What also stood out to us was how close to the surface each of the veterans held their memories and their emotions. And of course, this is not over for them. So please keep that in mind as we honor all veterans tomorrow. By the way, happy anniversary to the U.S. Marine Corps, 250 years old today. More than 9 million Americans served on active duty during the Vietnam era. Of those, more than 265,000 were women, and 11,000 of those actually did tours in country. And while the vast majority, about 90%, served as nurses, Hunter Funk found out not all did. One woman in Idaho was among the small percentage of women who worked in military intelligence. Impressive.
Yeah, a story we don't really hear very often.
Yeah.
Elaine James grew up in a small town in Georgia, but now resides in Idaho. She was among the very few women who collected and analyzed information during the Vietnam War to support combat. It was crucial intelligence for tactical decision making, and she saw what was happening in real time.
Boy, it was like things you never imagine. You know, you couldn't, you had no experience, especially as a woman. You know, you weren't raised to know these things. This is back in the days where women did not have the opportunities to do the things that they do today. For instance, at that time, there were no female pilots in the military. There were so many areas that there just were not any spaces available. It was just not allowed.
Elaine says she can't say a lot about what she experienced, but it's because much of it remains classified. But the event stuck with her. She saw what was going on in real time there. And in an effort to continue honoring our vets this week and in honor of Veterans Day this Tuesday, we're going to be diving deeper into her story, what she's overcome, and how things have evolved.
Thanks, Hunter. Again, you can see that story on Wednesday here on the 208. Thanks. Sorry, no time for comments, but we'll share them on Wednesday. I promise. We'll see you then.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.